In this video, we're going to be discussing the chart widget. Chart widget is clearly the most graphical of all widgets, as the name would suggest. It's pretty powerful, and we're going to show you how you can use it. We're going to start by discussing what it is. We're going to talk about the difference between case charts and grid charts. I'm going to show you the various charting options, and then we're going to talk about chart templates. So we come into the tool. The chart widget is right here. Click on that, open it up. I have not yet logged into a case, so there's no data to graph. And I don't really need to discuss the foundational elements of the tool, which I want to do before we start getting into data. The first thing to notice is there are two tabs here, case charts and grid charts. Case charts are used for charting all the data in the case. If you want a chart that shows you all the different file types you have in the entire case charts are what you want. Grid charts only chart what is in the grid at that moment. If you've pulled in 100 items into the grid, then the grid chart will pertain just to those 100 items. When do you use one versus the other? It's easy to understand when you use the case charts, when you want to chart some attribute that's about the entire case. File types is a perfect type, perfect thing to graph. File dates, emails, things like that are very well graphed by case level charts. Grid charts are meant to be much more focused. If you want to generate charts just on the documents you've labeled, for example, grid charts are ideal to that. Okay, the next thing you need to understand are these checkboxes. You see you've got a top checkbox and a bottom, and then left, center, right. If you click here, you will remove all the charts on the top. You can, of course, click and return them. If you click here, you'll remove the left chart and the right chart. Now I only have one chart. It's the bottom center one that is visible. You use this mechanism to set up the kind of configuration you want, ultimately with the goal of creating a template that you can then share with all your users. I'm going to discuss templates when I have data in the case. It's more compelling at that point. So let me open a case and let's discuss the individual chart options. And to do this, I'm only going to have one chart visible. This is fine. And we're going to go, and right now we've got a bar chart here. And you can see, actually, you can do bar charts or pie charts, but I want to keep things simple at the moment, and I want to chart file category. So this is a bar chart of file category for the predictive coding case. It's much more visually appealing in pie chart mode. So let's go ahead and pull that up again. There we go. Because all those little ones get lost sort of in here and you don't get bothered by them. Okay, so we have a pie chart of file category up in front of us. Let me show you what you can do. You can toggle the legend, add the legend back. This, as you would expect, sort of shows you the attributes of the pie chart. The most compelling thing about the legend is it allows you to remove things. So if you're like, hey Tim, it's cool you got everything charted, but I'm really interested in these small numbers and I kind of can't see them at all. They're overwhelmed by the bigger elements. Well, you just click on the bigger elements and they will disappear. And you can go until you've got the data you wanted to view, and now you can see that, you know, OS systems is only 2. Instead of it being this tiny sliver, now it has much more real estate. That's the most compelling thing, I think, about the legend. Let's go ahead and remove that. You can toggle the title. The only reason to do that is it gives your chart a little bit more real estate. You can add labels. You can toggle the size of the labels. And ultimately, you can print this out to PDF. So you just click there, and it's exported out to PDF. So those are all the options. They apply both to bar charts and pie charts. But the most compelling thing, I think, about the charts is that they are interactive. So if I click on folders, it will actually filter my grid to just the folders. So if you see this 1953 exactly matches 1953. If I click it again, it goes from red to black, and now I am filtering out the folders. So this is everything except for folders. And if I click it one more time, it goes back to the full data set. You can also click multiples. So I can do that. Now watch this. This is the 1953. If I click here, I'm going to add 315 to that. So it really is a powerful tool, if you will. You can actually set it up. You could set up a configuration like this in which you have a file category template and a grid on the right. And you just have your users use this as their filter instead of having to teach them the filter widget, which is a little bit more overwhelming. So the last thing to show you is, before we hop over to the grid charts, is I want you to take note of the things you can chart. Labels, view documents, evidence explorer, a whole bunch of email attributes, content plus topic. If you have watched the filter video, you might be familiar with the fact that those are the same options you have in the filter widget. So if you look here at file category, you've got date range, file extension, file size, file category. You have all those same things here. File size, file category, extension, file by date. Anyway, you can read same as I can. It exactly matches. And in fact, when you are clicking these things, you can see you're applying the filters. We clicked on folder, and we clicked on other known types, and those facets got applied. So that's how this case chart is, if you will, wired into the entire system. It's effectively wired through the filter widget. Okay, let's now go to the grid charts, and I'm going to pull up the grid because of course we're graphing the grid. The only thing new to show here is that we can graph fundamentally different things than we could in the case charts. That's why I sort of had you take note of that. What we can graph here is whatever columns we have displayed over here. So you can see email address, email to subject, email address, email to subject. If we want to change what we can graph, we can come over here, click General, refresh the charts because we need it to rebuild this. And now we look at this, and these now match this. Object name, object path, file category. Let's go ahead and do that. So now we have file category graphed in pie chart mode in both places. You can see this is folders and other known types, and we've got sort of 2,268 total items graph in the chart, in the grid, but only 100 of those loaded. And right now we're graphing those 100 that are loaded. So you've got sort of 67 folders here, and you can just go through and scroll and check out the various things that you've graphed. This chart is also interactive. So if I click on it, it will filter down to just those items. Now it's everything but these items, and again back to an unfiltered state. Last but not least, chart templates. When you have the grid in the when you have the chart in the configuration you like, the chart widget, maybe you have 3 charts, maybe you only have 1, whatever, you can go over here and create a chart template. Let's do that. Now remember, chart templates have their own video. And we'll call this file category, and we're going to save it, and it will save the configuration. And it did. Now, you'll notice it immediately jumped to a different configuration. It always jumps to the first one loaded. But I could go back to file category if I wanted, well, without any real trouble. So if I click on that, we'll see what happens. And I'm back to the configuration I had saved. So anyway, that's the chart widget. Hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully it was clear and you get to use it to its fullest extent. Thank you very much.